Hello and welcome back. It's your host Wind. We're looking at our feature war tonight. Again, it's Age of Ancestry, age 92, year 1, July 8th. We're currently looking at our feature war, as I mentioned. This is the BARCO versus CROSSWORDS war. Obviously BARCO is tagged, so we know who they are. Currently, we are, taking a look at, the breakdown of the kingdoms as well as some other inside details that we have to look at today. Um, basically this came down to, my favorite choice, Avian Orc, which I highlight in a Genesis video, which you can see on the YouTube channel. Is one of the only Genesis videos I have at the moment because it does take some time to do those videos, as you see. It is quite long. Versus, as I digress there, Crosswords, who appears to go mostly full orc with a complement of some humans, and I guess some dwarf dryads as support casters, fairy elves as some TMs, full fairies, TMs, and a halfling, fairy halfling, probably for some rogue type stuff. Looking at Barco's side of things, we've got some avian dryads. Those are perfect support casters. Avian typically always a good support caster. Great to have on your side. Fairy elf, halfling fairy, so some good fairy halfling, some pretty good combinations there. I mean, fairly similar breakdowns in terms of what the kingdoms are looking like. Personally, I think I do like avian orc more for the short game, but orc. Actually, you know what? I kind of like avian orc for the entire game. Orc is a great combination, don't get me wrong, and we'll look at that a little bit closer um, later in the video. However, Avian Orc was one of the ones I picked for Genesis, and there was a reason that I picked that at the beginning of the age during the testing to see how good it was versus Orc. And definitely it comes down to preparation, I think, when it comes down to these two choices. So let's dive into our main screen here. Thank you all our viewers who's joined us today. We're taking a quick look at the target finder first. I do have some additional information with regards to the target finder, but it's only it only really impacts the war a bit earlier on, so we won't be identifying it like we did in the other videos here. Strong showing from Barco. They came in pretty evenly matched on the land. Barco immediately dominates and continues to dominate. Substantial lane gains there. Crossword did a good job trying to maintain. They stayed within this network, this land bracket, which is nice. However, Barco did manage to grow two brackets. That's about 10k worth of acres, if not more, off of this war, mostly from the bonus. But they did a significant amount of acres and damage as well. Looking at the net worth side of things here, same story basically. However, it looks like there is some very strong play at the end here. Let me just go back. I think maybe the net worth chart is kind of being a bit funky here. So I mean, in the net worth chart here, it looks like, this is the victory here. Barco obviously released a lot of troops here, probably for econ, because this war was over, I believe, on the 24th is when they withdrew. So pretty much right at min time. As you can see, Barco's dropping a lot of his net worth, their net worth here for income. So they're definitely planning on banking a lot of gold. Probably for full elite training, I would imagine. Looking at the honor side of things, definitely again, Barco dominating. There was a moment here, probably close to the beginning of the war, or just before the beginning of the war, where Crosswords managed some convergence, but that didn't really help them in the long of things. I mean, looking at the damage side here, quite significant damage on Crosswords side. Again, an evenly matched war. More provinces in the negative 100s than Barco. However, this one avian did take quite a pounding. Keep in mind, this is with their gains and the war gains as well. So, however, a lot of these provinces were above 1,000 acres before. So, if you minus out their gains, the situation didn't really look too much different. Definitely, Crossword was in a one-sided fight. I believe, primarily what happened here was just a lack of prep during the ceasefire, probably for this particular opponent, who I believe went fully elite training. which is why you see such domination here. Not only that, reports from Crosswords indicate that they were extremely low on mana on their TM side, going to war with as little as 15% mana on their TMs. So, huge disadvantage there. Also, the dragon play was totally on Barco's side. I mean, the dragon did help Crosswords a tiny bit, but the emerald dragons that they were eating were just too much for them to handle, especially with the speed and gains combined with the avians. The avian orcs was a nice pick, definitely a nice pick for the age, very strong core. Again, orc is still a very strong core as well, so not to discount them in any way. It all comes down to how you play, how you set up your prep, and of course your players. I mean, that's the number one thing here. Um, so, that's that. Let's take a quick look at, this is the war only side of the Seraphim formatter that we're going to look at. Things I want to kind of look at here are a number of attacks versus uniques and things like that. So as you can see, it's quite a significant difference, over 120 additional attacks, 2,000 acres additional damage for Barco coming off of Crossword side of things. As you can see, Barco is really just taking off here. Well, there's the one province that remains somewhat untouched, but still significant damage. If you look at all the numbers here, very significant damage to the provinces below. In most cases, they're taking, almost double the amount of hits as they're able to make out. This guy at the bottom, 3 times as much. He's in bad shape. Obscure spellcaster definitely in bad shape going into this ceasefire compared to the rest of the kingdom. I mean, both of them. Son Goku definitely took a good beating there, but I mean, look how many hits Son Goku took, but still ended up in a not terrible position. I mean, when your core gets beaten up, that's totally normal. Looking at the total war side of things, there were some interesting attacks I want to point out to everyone a bit later with regards to how the war was started. But I mean, looking at it here, not too much difference. Quite a significant number, including the pre-war attacks. I believe Barco did get 2 waves to Crosswords, one before the war was declared. So they were definitely leading in terms of uniques and hits even before the war started. Now, one thing I was trying to ask Utopian Crosswords about was why they did these split armies at the beginning of the war and brought extra acres into the funnel for Barco to take with them. There's plenty of reasons why they may have done that. Definitely, what I was thinking was they're just propping themselves up for the onslaught they knew was coming. Looking at the uniques here, I mean, even if you discount these 2 extra waves or even 1 wave to be fair. Barco still has 10, 10, 10, 9, 9, 9, 8, 8, 8. I mean, the first we show here on 6, 9 is 6. I mean, like the lower half of the kingdom is basically on that on Barco, so you can see that avian advantage there. And again, in looking back at the uniques for just the war side of things, we got all 5s and 4s, a 2, we got 8s, we got a 9 on top, 9, 9, 8, 8, 8, 7, 7, 6, 6, 6, 6, 5. I mean, basically down here is where Crossword comes in, and look, there's Son Goku, most attacked, and still has the top number of uniques in comparison to the enemy here. Not too many aid packets going back and forth. Very like no gnomes in this kingdom, so not too many credits to use up there. So we're not seeing too much going back and forth there. Let's see the total war, 221, reasonable amount of aid packets still over a 48-hour minimum time period. Quick look at the news here. Kingdom's definitely very busy. One thing I wanted to point out, however, was actually I don't know if this is in here. Uh, da, da, da. Yeah, I do have an image I'm going to show later with regards to the outside attacks. So let's just go back to the target finder for now. I mean, definitely a tough war for anyone who is a part of it. Just gonna look at my screen here to see what I have. Um, and so definitely a tough war for crosswords. Let me see if I have any special notes with regards to this. I definitely have some images I want to take a look at. Um, with regards to, let's see if I have anything else here. Apparently 15 hours, some notes here are both sides were running onslaughts, most likely full power. Um, some notes from the other side, crossword side, 15, they went into the war. Barco had about 100K elites pre-war. So that's huge advantage of net worth. Huge advantage of offense and defense. 25 hours in, we're looking at, 15 hours in, we're looking at a peasant difference about 180K to 100 Barco. 25 hours in, we're looking at about 190 to 105K. Again, peasants on Barco's side. Crosswords definitely was struggling with runes. They couldn't control, or they were trying to control the econ. There were a good amount of unbreakables on both sides, however. Barco did have the bigger kingdom overall, and were turtling some of their bigger avians in the end of it. So, with enough training, essentially nobody would be unbreakable on crossword side should this war have gone any further. It's definitely a one-sided fight with regards to prep and going into the war. There was a lot of emphasis on the TMs, maybe having to step up, but I just don't see had a good chance here. I think he mentioned also that they were up 30K in military, however, down 100K in elites, but that's a huge difference, to lose those troops, especially, with the gains and the speed, so the additional attacks and the onslaught and the Emerald Dragon that they were eating. Definitely very painful attacks. Some other notes. Let's see here if I have any other notes with regards to this war. Those are my notes for the last war. Okay, so that's about it. Now there was a couple images I wanted to show here. If I could get them to go through just to show a little bit of the damage. It's going to get a bit funky here. Bear with me while I switch to my image here. Here we go. I hope everyone can see this fine. I apologize for the strangeness, but this is kind of where, after the first wave, where this war started. I'm just looking at change here, net worth wise, and we can see, as time goes on, the damage that gets taken, primarily on the dwarf side of things. Dwarfs and orcs are taking hits heavily on crossword side, but you can see the damage moving across the kingdom. We're at 28 hours in now. Again, consistent damage showing up on the entire core with, you've got your fairies coming up to the top here, um, going into the final, you can see the total damage here from one period. Just bear with me here. I need to open up um, the next round of slides. So it's going to get funky again here for a second while I change this. There we go. Again, I apologize for that. I'm going to come up with a better solution for that. So I'm just going to pull up these other slides here that I have on the Barco side of things. And then I want to take a quick look at how the dragons were deployed. Here we are. We got Barco here, so again, bear with me here while I get this thing going. All right, here we go. So this is how Barco started after wave one. Damage to the avians seems to be the focus here. As we continue to go, those avians are growing, the halflings are doing pretty well. The avians at the bottom continue to take significant damage compared to the rest of the kingdom. We're about 25 hours in now. Barco dominating still. Again, significant damage to their avians in the bottom end, but they don't seem to be impacted too much. I mean, look at that net worth per acre, and net worth is still maintaining. This is the end. I mean, that net worth is still there. They got their boosted acres. Net worth per acre is still pretty high, so they definitely didn't release too much army with regards to this one. So let me just go back here for a moment and get rid of that. There we go. Okay, again, I apologize for that. We don't have to look at that anymore. Let me see what I've got here. Yes, so I did want to take a quick look at the dragon play. So let me just pull that up here. Image. Did I have that already? I don't think so. Okay, let me just open it again and we'll take a look at it here. Um, This is a chart I took kind of when dragons were deployed um, earlier in the war. Okay, there we go. So as you can see here, this is when the Emerald Dragon was deployed by BARCO on this green dot here. And essentially, let me see if, yeah, you can't quite see that, but basically on this green dot is essentially where the Emerald Dragon got dropped on crosswords. So you can see they pretty much suffer throughout the war because of that. Let me see my notes here. Um, yeah, so April 20th, war was declared. April 20th, the Emerald Dragon ravages the lands. They start another Emerald Dragon facing crosswords immediately. Um, Crosswords looks like they sat on the dragon. They definitely didn't kill it, knowing that Barco could likely fund that second dragon. So basically just a waste of troops and giving away more acres in the end. So good on Crossword for holding those acres as best they could, combined with their honor as best they could. On May 10th, as you can see there where the red dot is, that's where the Ruby Dragon sets flight. And I mean, there is some drop. Barco takes a bit of a hit there. I mean, some extra damage. Definitely good timing on Crossword's side to drop that dragon. They definitely stem the acres, but at the end of the day, Barco still racked up those acres pretty well. So good on them for that, and good on Crossword for maintaining themselves during that. So that's it for that. Let's take a quick look at the races here. We got a funny picture here of my avian orcs down here flying away. Thanks to the artist, whoever did that. Google's a great tool. It's great stuff there. So of course, we've got our breakdown here. Just a quick look at orc, avian orc versus pure orc. I mean, what stood out for me right away was, for Avian Orc was, when I was doing my Genesis character, I wanted attack time, I wanted speed, I wanted gains, I wanted kills, I wanted some ambush protection, training time and build costs, always very nice. No access to stables and war horses. To be honest, you don't really need that. Bonuses from honor, not a huge concern early in the age, especially in Genesis, but we're talking World of Legends here. But I mean, if you look at those elite bonuses, those are some pretty sweet numbers. Definitely awesome elites. You're the only one that gets anonymity as well with Avian, I believe. You also get aggression and bloodlust. So, cast that bloodlust, stack those kills. Barco was probably doing that every round. Whereas the pure orc, sure, you get great combat gains, additional enemy casualties, but really, is it enough to make up for that attack time? Possibly not, especially if you can't control the econ. Having those extra hits, as we saw, can lead to those runaway provinces. So definitely a good selection for Barco on this one in terms of their core. How well it will fare later in the age, we'll find out. Definitely two kingdoms to watch out for. Barco versus Crosswords, sorry, a very tough war, well fought on both sides. Barco definitely went in a little bit better prepared than Crosswords in terms of their ceasefire. Crosswords didn't really stand a chance because of the sheer number of elites that they had to deal with in that war. Great work to Barco for, having such good skill and finesse when it came to running your provinces and your kingdom, not to mention showing everybody how ceasefires are done. I mean, just proves to everyone that, out of your first ceasefire, you can easily train, nearly 100% elites on your kingdom. So good on you for that. And that's, unfortunately, as I said, there isn't too much to cover in this one because there wasn't too many dragons going back and forth. I mean, they only have one ritual onslaught on either side. We only had the two dragons. Again, we can take a quick look at the chart here, net worth wise, as to where those dragons actually came into play. Again, we said the Emerald Dragon from Barco Loco on April the 20th, which means March 20th in Target Finder speak. So, roughly like right here, um, we saw that Emerald Dragon come into play. Um, on Crossword, right? Um, so that was, that that along with Onslaught, Bloodlust, the additional attacks that the Avians get, the gains from the Orcs, the extra casualties. I mean, they really took a good beating here on the crossword side. But that is to say that those Orcs didn't do a good job beating up those Avians as well. Plus, those Avians were taking extra losses because they're marching more often as well. Looking on the flip side of things, where did that Ruby Dragon come into play? That Ruby Dragon came into play on May 10th, so April 10th in the target finder time, which is about right there. So right, kind of right at the bottom of this wave here. Maybe they were trying to go for some bounces or something, but I don't think it worked out too well because I didn't see too many failed attacks. And again, I didn't see any indication. I think both were just tanking it. It's possible that BARCO did slay that one. They did have a decent net worth drop after that that could be representative of slaying a Ruby Dragon. But to be honest, the way the war was going, I think they could have just sat on it, especially considering Crosswords was sitting on that dragon as well. So definitely a good fought war. Thank you to the monarch, or rather the war lead or whatever they want to call themselves on the crossword side for providing some intel early in the war to see how things went, especially with regards to the the ceasefire training for Barco, and kind of the position that they were in, that they entered the war, because definitely they were at a disadvantaged position. The last thing I wanted to look at quickly. Oh yeah, well I guess we don't really need to look at it too much, but I mean just wanted to again point out that in the beginning the some attacks were split on the hostile, which ended up 5-7 and 5-12 here, bleeding some acres into crosswords to kind of keep them afloat, which I feel like Barco probably just took home with them at the end of the day. So again, maybe get a little bit more insight from crosswords as to why they did that. But looking at the news, um, you know, it only tells us so much. So by all means, if anyone has any more information on this, feel free to share it with me. But I think we've covered as much as we can really on this one. So thank you to all the viewers for joining us for the second part of the show. It's a great war, a good watch. Definitely one to pay attention to, especially when it comes to your ceasefires and how important they are. Thank you, Barco and Crosswords, for warring and putting up a good fight. Crosswords, again, you did a great job maintaining those acres. So that's it for this evening. This is your featured war. Your reporter Wind signing off. Thank you to all our viewers, and make sure that everyone leaves some comments in the YouTube chat, or of course, leave comments on the video, or please mention it, um, in Muga. More than happy to talk about anything. Just reach out to us. Thank you so much.